Alright, so let's talk about the properties I was telling. So properties of NaOH. So we spoke about two methods of preparations, and there is also, in fact, there is also another method of preparation, that is by Kellner and Sol. Information again, nothing much, same this will only. Kellner Solvay cell. There is also another Kellner Solvay cell, same as this one. The only thing is not so complicated, like three compartments are there and everything. It is only one entire cell is of one cell. Only the mercury keeps flowing, and sodium amalgam that is formed here is not uh, broken down, or it is not oxidized then and there in the same cell. The sodium amalgams comes out of this cell, and after coming out of this cell, then we perform the second reaction. Okay, so it is like sophisticated one. Okay, not so big as this fellow's one. Okay, it has very large tower, which is entire thing happens in only the rods are present, like iron rods are present, and the amalgam keeps flowing outside. Whatever the sodium amalgam that is formed, NaHG, instead of retaining there, it comes out, and after coming out, we react and form our sodium hydroxide. So same method, but only thing is little sophisticated, that's it. So Kellner and Solvay not much important, these two are important. Fine. Now let's talk about the properties. As usual, first we begin with what? Physical properties. So oh, one more I forgot before properties. Pure sodium hydroxide, how do you prepare? Yeah, this is also for objectives, it is relatively important. So pure sodium hydroxide, how do you prepare? Very simple, I write it in words. This is what we have seen earlier is commercial way. So the commercial sodium hydroxide, you have to use that only. Okay, is mixed with alcohol. Okay, so normally other salts, other impurities, basically as told already, in this or in this, it is not always 100% pure. Okay, somewhere around 40 to 60% only we get. So either by these two process or the previous process also. So most likely the other things are what? Impurities. So if I use that commercial NaOH and treat it with what? Alcohol, the sodium chloride or sodium sulfate or potassium chloride, whatever the impurities, calcium carbonates, any such impurities present, they do not dissolve. Okay, so I'll write the point here as NaOH dissolves. NaOH dissolves in alcohol, but the impurities that are NaCl, Na2CO3, basically these are the main impurities, etc., they don't dissolve in alcohol. So the solution, so by this what I get, the alcoholic solution obtained from the above mixture is distilled. Alcohol can be easily distillated, and we get the NaOH, that is the pure NaOH, to get solid NaOH. Okay, so this is how you get the pure NaOH. Very simple. Point is what? Treat it with alcohol, because these fellows also can be soluble in water. Fine. So best way is what? Treat it with alcohol. These fellows do not dissolve in alcohol. And the solution, the alcoholic solution, you just distillate and that is evaporate. Automatically alcohol comes out and NaOH will be retaining there. Fine. So that's all. Now come talking about properties. As usual, we begin with physical properties. What is that? It is white crystalline. We know this already. NaCl is, sorry, NaOH is white crystalline, and it is soapy to touch. And if you talk about taste, it is bitter in taste. Okay, then third point, density. Density is 2.13 grams per ml. Okay, and melting point is high, somewhere 318.4 degrees Celsius. Is it soluble in water? Yes, it is soluble in water, and it is also soluble in alcohol. Fine. So these are the basic properties. Fine. Now let's talk about the chemical properties. When I say chemical properties, it's all about reacting with what and how. Okay. First, reaction with air. Whenever I say air, what do I mean? Composition of air, mainly of what? Nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide. Fine. So these are the main things, and little amount of moisture also. If it is mentioned dry air, that means no moisture. Okay, and air means little amounts of moisture also. So in fact what happens is, that is, NaOH can react with the carbon dioxide present in air along with the moisture and forms sodium carbonate plus water. Okay, so this is what the reaction happening when it is reacted with air. With nitrogen and oxygen, with nitrogen we don't find the reaction of NaOH, okay, much. Then the second one, reaction with not reaction, I say it is behaving like it is a strong alkali. What do you mean by strong alkali? Strong alkali means whenever I drop NaOH in water, it will completely dissolve, or it will completely break down into Na plus plus OH minus ions, and it is reversible, right? So this complete OH minus liberation, because of this complete OH minus liberation, I call it as strong alkali. Now basing on this liberation of OH minus, how it reacts with acids, metal acids and all, we'll see. So in fact I can bifurcate reaction of behaving of strong alkali as three things. One is with acids, with metal acids, not metal acids, in fact I should call it as acidic oxides, non-metal acidic oxides. And the third one, that is with amphoteric oxides also, amphoteric oxides. So I think all these reactions you already knew. Okay, in fact you must be helping me out right before I write. With acids, for example, acid plus base, this base will give what? Acid in 7th standard you should have studied. Acid plus base gives salt plus water. Acidic oxides also means what? They are what? Acidic oxides, and this base will form salt plus water. So in fact I'll see that also. So acid plus base, for example, if I talk about HCl plus NaOH, what is the salt? NaCl plus water. Same if I take H2SO4 plus NaOH, sodium sulfate plus water, right? So if I use phosphoric acid, H3PO4 plus NaOH, one second. Okay, so if I use H3PO4 plus NaOH, what is the salt? Sodium, yeah, what is this? So sodium phosphate plus water. Okay, so this is how you find sodium, no, 3 Na3PO4 plus water. So this is how you can say acid plus base gives salt and water. Very simple. Now with respective to acidic oxides, basically acidic oxides are nothing but metal oxides or non-metal oxides. Non-metal oxides are what in nature? non-metal oxides are acidic in nature, correct? So that's what, for example, if I treat NaOH plus, for example, carbon dioxide, it forms sodium carbonate Na2CO3 plus water. Suppose if I treat NaOH with sulfur dioxide, it forms Na2SO3 plus water. Mind it, here it is not sodium sulfate, it is sodium sulfite. Okay, then if I treat it with nitrogen dioxide NO2, then it forms sodium nitrite and also sodium nitrate, both sodium nitrite and sodium nitrate plus water. Okay, so on and on. These are the reactions that you can see. Like basically carbon dioxide, sulfur, nitrate, they are all what? Acidic oxides. Fine. With amphoteric oxides, what are the various amphoteric oxides that you know? With zinc oxide, very familiar amphoteric oxide, zinc oxide, aluminum oxide. What are amphoteric oxides? Oxides that can react with both acid and base, right? And which generally form the amphoteric oxides? The metals which are near to non-metals, which are near to metalloids, they generally form amphoteric oxides. And very commonly seen is Al2O3. We have seen this already many times. It forms what? Sodium aluminate or sodium meta-aluminate, NaAlO2 plus water, sodium meta-aluminate. If I use zinc oxide, anybody guessed by this time? I write it. Yes, what is that? Sodium zincate plus water. So this is my salt, sodium zincate. And if I use let me use SNO. Yeah, this is important. SNO plus NaOH, it forms sodium stannite, SNO2 plus water. I am not writing water, okay? This is what? Sodium stannite. If I want to make sodium stannate, like zincate, I want to make sodium stannate, then I should use SNO2 plus NaOH. Okay, so this will form a sodium stannate, that is Na2 SNO3 plus water as usual, sodium stannate. Similarly with lead also, PbO and PbO2. PbO will give plumbite, PbO2 gives plumbate. Okay, so these are the amphoteric oxides, acidic oxides and with acids. Now if I talk about non-metals, reaction with non-metals. So basically the non-metals, as I say, halogens and phosphorus, sulfur, silicon, then what else, boron. Fine. So these are the normally the non-metals which we use for reacting with NaOH. Okay, so what do you find? The various reactions. And with halogen, it's really important. NaOH plus halogen gives, it is very much evident what it should form: sodium halide plus water, correct? Now apart from this, remember this, apart from this, depending upon the concentration of NaOH, if I have cold and dilute NaOH, remember this, cold and dilute NaOH, I also have NaXO or NaOX. This is what? Sodium hypohalite. Okay, and if I have the NaOH as same, NaOH plus X2 will give NaX plus water, plus if it is instead of hot and instead of dilute, concentrated. If I use hot and concentrated reaction with halogen, it gives me the salt and water. Apart from this, I also get sodium halate. Okay, that is with, if I use chlorine chlorate. Okay, so I write it as what? Sodium halate, which is basically NaXO3. So here is the difference. Okay, highlight the difference or remember the difference. If I use cold and dilute, sodium hypohalate. If I use hot and concentrated, sodium halate. NaXO3, NaXO or NaOX. Fine, it all depends upon cold and dilute. Okay, just for example I will tell here itself. Okay, NaOH, if mentioned as cold and dilute, plus Cl2. What are the products? NaCl plus water plus cold and dilute. Cold and dilute means what? It should form NaOCl, which is called as sodium hypochlorite. Suppose if I treat it with NaOH with hot and concentrated. When I say hot and concentrated with chlorine, of course same salt plus water plus what is the main thing? NaClO3. And what is the name of this one? Sodium chlorate. Okay, with bromine, with iodine, the same thing. With fluorine we don't have the reaction. Okay, fluorine is very much reactive, that whatever the water that is coming up here itself, no, burnt. Fine. So with fluorine we don't have the reaction, and with chlorine, bromine and iodine the following reactions will take place. So with halogen is done. Now with phosphorus, what do you observe? Same NaOH plus P4. In fact, in the presence of water we have a aqueous form. So in the presence of water we find that sodium hypophosphite, that is NaH2PO2, is formed along with phosphine. What is the name of this one? Sodium hypophosphite. And what is this one? Very familiar one, that is NH3 is ammonia, PH3 is phosphine or phosphine. Some books or some spell it out. So on a whole, this is what, in fact, the phosphorus that we use, it is yellow phosphorus. There is various phosphorus. Okay, the various allotropes of phosphorus, there are many allotropes, and we use yellow phosphorus. Okay, and which is even though it is yellow, but it is actually it should be white in color. And so this yellow phosphorus, when treated with NaOH in the presence of water, it forms sodium hypophosphite plus phosphine. Now with phosphorus also done, then with sulfur. So NaOH on treating with sulfur will form same sodium hypophosphite. No, here we get thiosulfate, Na2S2O3 plus Na2S, sodium sulfide plus water. So sodium thiosulfate, which is one of the important compounds, special compounds that we have to study, and other one is sodium sulfide. Okay, so with sulfur, sodium thiosulfite and sodium sulfide plus water as usual, and then reaction with silicon, NaOH plus silicon, and this is also aqueous medium, will form Na2SiO3. What is the name? Sodium silicate. We know it already. Yes or no? Sodium silicate. It liberates what? Hydrogen gas. Okay, hydrogen gas is liberated in this reaction. fine. And if I talk about boron and magnesium have same reactions, that is boron, and it should be related with, boron is diagonally related with silicon, no? So silicon's reaction only it should be there, that is NaOH plus boron, aqueous medium. It forms whatever the silicate formed, it will be forming borate, BO3 plus hydrogen gas. Both are diagonally related. Okay, sodium borate. Fine. Then reaction with metals. With metals, what are the basic metals that you find is zinc, aluminium, tin, lead. Okay, so basically these metals, they react with sodium hydroxide solution and evolve hydrogen gas. Okay, so all of these metals reacts with NaOH solution. Solution means aqueous form, there should be water also, will form respective zincate or aluminate or stannate or leadate. Okay, so plumbate, so respective that is metal complex compound plus hydrogen gas. So I write it as Na 2 ZnO2 plus H2, and if it is aluminum we have meta, that is Na AlO2 plus H2. If it is tin, Na2 SnO3, and if it is lead, Na2 PbO3 plus H2 gas is released. Okay, and here the tin and lead, okay, when we fuse with NaOH, it forms the other one Na2 SnO2 and Na2 PbO2 also. Okay, I'll write that reaction also. When we fuse with the tin and lead, NaOH plus stannum will form Na2 SnO2 plus H2, and if we treat it with lead also, the same thing, Na2 PbO2 plus H2. Okay, so these are the reactions that you must be memorizing or remembering. So it's a tough call. Okay, I'm not giving any mnemonics for this because it's difficult. For everything mnemonics is really difficult, but I hope there is a scenario, that common scenario that you can find here. Okay, be it sulfur, phosphorus, silicon, boron. Okay, we see that the respective sulfates, silicates, borates, phosphates are formed, right? So only thing is, in special compounds, like some special areas you will find it, the names are of hypo or meta, or okay, that wording is coming out. So just have a be very much careful in that. That comes only by practice. Write it again and again, then only you will be mastering it. Okay, alright. So next, reaction with salts. In fact, when you talk about salts, there are basically two kinds of salts, that is insoluble hydroxides and soluble hydroxides. Metallic salts, hydroxides, which are insoluble as well as soluble. First, let me talk about insoluble hydroxides. Reaction with salts. So salts of nickel, then iron and manganese, copper, then somewhat zinc, they form insoluble hydroxides. Okay, so let me take for example nickel, NiNO3 twice. On treating with NaOH, it forms nickel hydroxide. Of course, they also form what? Sodium nitrate, and that is a salt of another one. So this is what, this hydroxide, that is nickel hydroxide, that is not they generally precipitate out. Okay, so ferrous sulfate FeSO4 plus NaOH, you should have guessed it, FeOH twice plus Na2SO4, FeCl3 plus NaOH, guess, don't wait for me, FeOH thrice plus salt NaCl. First separate out the salt, whatever the salt that is formed, then left over it is very much clear that what it can form. Okay, and CrCl3 chromium chloride when treated with NaOH, it forms the chromium hydroxide plus NaCl. And in fact all this like ferric hydroxide and this one, they are what, they precipitate out, and the color of this one is red PPT, and I think this one should be blue, no, this should be green chromium, no, so green PPT, this is red PPT. Okay, so we have some more reactions with manganese. We have manganese hydroxide, which is like buff colored, and copper sulfate we have blue colored, obviously. Fine, so these are the reactions like salts, and all these things are what, insoluble hydroxides. Now let's talk about the soluble hydroxides. Soluble hydroxides means whatever the hydroxides that are formed, they are easily, like they react with with NaOH. If taken in huge amounts, excess of amounts, they dissolve. Okay, like for example, let me write with zinc, heading as insoluble hydroxides that dissolve in excess of NaOH. If I take more amounts of NaOH, then the insoluble hydroxides, no, they just form a new compound and they get dissolved. Okay, for example, I was talking about zinc sulfate plus sulfuric acid, sorry, not sulfuric acid, sodium hydroxide, very commonly. It forms what, zinc hydroxide plus sodium sulfate. Now this zinc hydroxide is insoluble, but when this zinc hydroxide, when treated with NaOH again, ZnOH twice plus NaOH in the excess amounts, that's what, excess of NaOH, in the excess amounts of NaOH, zinc hydroxide forms the zincate. What is zincate? Sodium zincate, Na2 ZnO2 plus water, and this is soluble. Okay, sodium zincate is soluble. Same with aluminum chloride, AlCl3 and NaOH, it forms aluminum hydroxide, and aluminum hydroxide is what, insoluble. Aluminum hydroxide plus, I'm using NaOH, so NaCl, so it forms, this is insoluble, but when I treat the aluminum hydroxide AlOH thrice with excess of NaOH, it forms sodium meta aluminate, that is NaAlO2. The previous reactions we have seen, and this is soluble in water. Okay, so same with tin also, we have the same thing. Fine, so on a whole, these are all, of course they are insoluble, but if excess of NaOH, they get dissolved. Fine, so that's the difference, only difference between these two. And they also can form unstable hydroxides, or reaction with unstable hydroxides. Basically the silver nitrates reaction and mercury, these fellows are, they form unstable hydroxides. The third category is what, unstable hydroxides. Okay, so AgNO3, silver nitrate plus NaOH will form silver hydroxide plus sodium nitrate NaNO3, and this AgOH formed it forms, or this is very much uh, quickly forms Ag2O and forms water. Okay, and silver oxide, it forms a brown PPT, correct? In, I hope, 9th or 10th you should have studied about this silver oxide. Then same way you have with mercury also. HgCl2 on treating with NaOH, what should form? With silver hydroxide, with mercury mercuric hydroxide, that is HgOH twice plus what's the salt? Chlorine, so NaCl, and this HgOH twice will quickly decompose into water and mercuric oxide, that is, this is also yellow in color. Fine. So unstable hydroxides, whatever the hydroxides that are formed, they are highly unstable and they quickly decompose into respective oxides, liberating water. Fine. And there is also another reaction, that is which you are familiar with, reaction with carbon monoxide with CO. With CO2 we have already seen what happens with CO2, carbon dioxide, the first reaction. Answer. I hope you are answering. Anyways, I cannot hear. So reaction with carbon monoxide, we see that sodium hydroxide, it forms acetate, that is carboxylic acid. I told you the other day, those who are present in the 2 to 3 hour doubt session, the reaction is like this: NaOH on treating with carbon monoxide, in fact the temperature and pressure have to be high, that is high temperature and high pressure is there, somewhere around 7 atmosphere I think, and this is the temperature should be around 150 degrees Celsius. So at this conditions we can find that formation of HCONA, and what is the name of this one? Sodium formate. Okay, sodium formate. Sodium, if I don't have sodium, it is formic acid, or it is also called as methanoic acid. Okay, so common name formic acid. Now for the formic acid, hydrogen is removed and sodium is replaced, so I have sodium formate. Okay, so this is action of NaOH on carbon monoxide. So with this, the reaction part is also done, and mostly if asked from these reactions only. There is also a reaction with ammonium salts. We see that the double displacement and ammonium gas is released. Okay, the salt formation, water formation plus ammonia gas is released. If you are using NH4Cl, it forms NaCl plus water and NH3, and if you are using NH4, that is ammonium carbonate, we find that sodium carbonate plus water plus ammonia is released. Okay, so that reaction is there, and with this, the reaction part, that is properties, are also done. Now today you have two lengthy videos in fact, because the chapter, I wanted to finish off this chapter by this week. Okay, if at all I finish off this thing, then I'll be left over with two important areas. Alright, anyways, I'll be sharing the that is animated video also. Just go through that for the preparation of two cells, Nelson cell and Kellner cell. Okay, for that, and then these preparations and properties. With this we stop, and 2 to 3 hour session. If you have any doubts, meet up there. Okay, stay home, stay safe.